Welcome to another edition of the Parents Lounge, Tuesday night parental mental health check-in. I'm Jamie Kaler, joined as always by my pal Jason Gowan. The mom will be in a minute. Jason, how are you, brother? I get that. We got a lot to talk about tonight. It's just our normal crew, Kate Mulligan, Clare Kramer, and us, and we got a lot to talk about. Alopecia gained some national attention this week, and oddly enough, it's a subject dear to our heart with Kate Mulligan and her son. So we'll talk a little alopecia. We'll talk a little Will Smith. My daughter had surgery. We alluded to last week. We'll chat about that because as a parent, there's probably nothing more terrifying than having your child have surgery.
I had a date night and then I didn't.
Oh, yeah, you had a date night that ended abruptly, shall we say.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right, we have a fantastic show for you tonight. It's been a crazy week again with my kids. I just literally came running in from soccer practice with my child and quickly jumped on. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. Thanks to everybody for joining us. We're so excited every week. It just gets bigger and more fun. And Maureen's already in. Hi, Maureen. How are you?
Maureen, what's up?
Regulars are in. Do us a favor. If you're watching this on Facebook, be sure to follow and like us. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. If you are listening to this on iTunes, then certainly come find us because we're live Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. On the Parents Lounge everywhere. But if you are listening to this, we're really thankful for you guys for being part of the show. It takes a village to remind us all that we made some terrible choices in life. So be
damn old sex.
Please subscribe to the podcast. If you know parents who are dealing with insanity, please share it because, we really are. We're helping ourselves. Don't get us wrong. We are helping ourselves, but we are also out to help every parent, really, to understand that we're all in this together. So.
And if you are watching us live tonight, share the live stream so that all your friends can come watch and come be part of the TPL family.
That's right. You can share it to your page and all your friends can laugh hysterically at your smart-ass comments that you're all so good at. Joe Bo and Cheryl Gibson and Maureen.
Genevieve,
and
the whole crew.
So, all right, we are going to play our opening theme song, which will give you about 90 seconds to go make a delicious cocktail or, take a couple Advil or do whatever you need to do. I made a Negroni, my Tuesday night Negroni for the show. So we'll talk about
hot box in your bathroom if you want.
Yeah, exactly. So without further ado, let's start this beast with a slap. We could have homes on separate coasts, go dive in Greece with squids. Could have been so bleeping rich, but instead we had kids. They won't smile for a photo, they won't eat the food we choose. That's why we're heading to the Parents Lounge to drown ourselves in booze. Every day we're more exhausted, we haven't slept in years. They hit me in the nuts so bad, my eyes filled up with tears. And yes, we'd like to fake our death and go off of the grids, but the truth is we are softies and we truly love our kids. So join us every Tuesday night to laugh at all our pain. Evening in the Parents Lounge is the cure to staying sane. Welcome, everybody. Kate Mulligan, Clare Kramer, Jason Gowan. I'm Jamie Kaler. Welcome to the Parents Lounge Tuesday night parental mental health check-in. I've already asked what's everybody drinking tonight, and Suge Knight is drinking water.
Suge Knight, that means he's lying.
I think he's partaking in other festivities that are only legal in certain states.
Not here.
With a name like Suge Knight, Please, that dude rolled a blunt about 20 minutes ago. If I'm
Right. By the way, there's a new documentary out about Suge Knight, I think, but anyway, I was thinking about. I had to tell Shuggy that. Hi, Suge. Richard.
Well, since he's Suge Knight, he probably has one of those Google alerts anytime his name pops up. So anytime Suge Knight pops up, I'm sure he gets a little, hey, did you know that you're doing something? But yeah, wrong Suge. But it's all good. Scotchy Scotch, says Genevieve Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I love it.
Ooh, what scotch are you drinking?
Jamie, you like to start by asking what everyone's drinking. I like to start by asking what's on Kate's bed, because that's really how I know, like, what kind of a day, a week she's had. And I'm seeing a clean canvas, so I'm a little confused. What's going on, Kate?
Yeah, it's a great question. First of all, Jamie wanted to compliment your hair today. Your hair looks good. It's like very.
It's so funny because
it's very floofy.
You know what's weird? Rarely, never happens. I washed it and conditioned it, and it feels like looks like I'm wearing a wig, doesn't it? It looks like a wig on.
You know what?
I assure you, that is my hairline. I know. I feel like I look like a hobo, but
it's a great question, Claire. Recently, I've been going through marital problems regarding the state of my home, so we are trying to nip that in the bud.
And what is that, Kate? Can you please expand on that? Because that could be many things: dishes, laundry, clutter. What's
all of the above?
Are you
all
a hoarder?
No, I'm not. I think Neil keeps getting my 6-year-old, almost 7-year-old keeps getting the note at school that he's not organized. I actually tend to be a very organized person, but the problem is. I don't like it's the problem is time, which is to say that like when you get home from let's say t-ball practice or any of your a million sports, until recently I'll just be like, okay, get in the house, we got to eat dinner, blah, 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 blah. And then like the van, then like they've left stuff in the van, right? And then once stuff gets left in the van, then more stuff gets left in the van the next time you hop out quickly. So the thing
laws of attraction.
Yeah, yes. And so what you have to do, which I've started to do, is say like, dinner's going to happen late tonight. We're not leaving anything. So like the van is immaculate. And then I spent 2 days last weekend or 2 weekends ago scouring, cleaning, and organizing. The kitchen is spotless now. But there are so many parts of and like the bedroom I did 3 weekends ago. And that was, so we're just picking one thing and then we're trying to be diligent about it. But it's just, I think clutter can make a person not feel good. And that's what it is. It's just like school papers. What are we going to do with them? Okay, put it, so we're just trying to be more organized. But it doesn't mean that I didn't have a shit day.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
Please unmute yourself. There you go.
Yes, no, I'm here. No, I was actually talking to my son who's like, how about I take this computer or I never leave this room? So we're in the middle of a negotiation right now.
I wondered. It looked like you were talking.
He's offering me Nancy Drew books in order for me to exchange these with the computer. But Kate, I feel you with the house issue. Like the car, the house, it's like insane.
It's and Dickie's whole thing is he's like, they have too many toys. Which may be true, and he's like, so I need to get rid of half of these toys. And I was like, okay, you can do that. This, like James, okay, this is just the classic thing. When your kids eat an apple, do you have one kid that will throw the core out and one kid that will just will just drop it wherever? Because that's how my kids are. So I know for a fact Neil's specialty in life, he just can't, he doesn't want to put things somewhere.
I have a question. One of your kids actually throws stuff out?
I didn't understand the concept.
I'm intrigued.
What happens then?
I haven't hit that phase yet, even at 14. We're not there.
It's the one we're pretty sure is going to be gay, you guys.
Makes a lot of sense.
Very clean.
My child went and got her cleats today for soccer practice, put them on, and then stomped around the house. And now there's mud clops all over the house. So yeah, it's, my kids will not. I watched my daughter eat yesterday. She was eating, and like a chunk of the food just fell, and she was like, "Oh," and just kept eating. Never. I go, "Hey, I saw that," and she goes, "Oh, you did?" And I go, "Yeah, pick it up." She goes, "Whatever," and then she picked it up.
What honestly
was eating really greasy stuff. and she was like, it was like chicken or something. And her hands were super greasy, and she reached down the cushion.
The cushion,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes,
She's
Jake
not
does
one.
that
She's
same
8
thing.
years old, and so our cushion. I watched it. I was like, and she grease printed the cushion in the, and then just didn't. And I go, hey. What did you just do? I think I swore. I really swore at the table. I go, hey,
Seems out of character.
it's not going to fly here. And she was like, what? She started crying. She started crying.
I gotta tell you, most recently I screamed. I mean, Neil's still scarred from it because I lost my shit. He knocked over his bottle of water. I think it wasn't even water. What was a bottle? It was a bottle of Gatorade, and just sort of was like, oh, and watched it as it dumped out, and I lost my brain. I was like, when we drop things, we pick them up. And he was like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, I'm just being crabby. But like, what is
not
that?
being crabby.
No, I think that's
I do
reasonable.
it. I just served them both dinner. I walked away. They were like, whatever. And I go, hey, you're welcome. And they go, oh, thanks. No, I need it.
Give that back. Give that back.
I need it better. Hey,
my kids are like, yeah, Mom, don't ask for that. You don't deserve our thing. I'm like, you guys live here free of charge. You're fed all your meals and all your activities are paid for, and you go to private school. So yes, I do need to thank you.
Yeah, we need.
Thank you.
We'll get to this first in a second. But first of all, I want to tell Genevieve that Bunnahabhain is my favorite Scotch of all. Bunnahabhain. That's how you pronounce it. Bunnahabhain.
That's like really Scottish.
Yeah,
right?
Genevieve. Well played. No, it's sweet. It's like candy. It's like adult candy.
Oof.
We have to jump to the main craziness that happened this week because it hit home so hard. Kate, with the slap on the face.
Yes.
Do you want to take the reins of this thing? All I did was think about you the whole week. I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was so for those of you
Tell everyone the story of what's happening.
Yeah, so for those of you who were in a coma for the past 48 hours,
On Mars.
welcome back. A comedian on a stage told a joke, and a rich comedian on a stage. Nice, Shug.
By the way, Suge Knight, for those, we have to sometimes say them because people are listening on the iTunes.
Oh, yes. Suge
One
Knight
of our regular funny men, Suge Knight, says, I'm here for a slapping good time. And I think that's apropos. I feel like that needs to be.
Yes. But I would say what we witnessed at the Oscars was two famous people, one famous person, two rich and famous people. And I do feel like that is an important detail because they got away. One of them got away with something that the rest of us could never get away with. Did not like a joke about his wife.
Well, can you imagine? Well, never mind. Go ahead, Kate.
And came up, obviously, Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. And I then saw immediately people justifying the slap in the name of alopecia. They're like, well, she has a serious condition. It's alopecia. And I immediately, because alopecia, my son has it. My 6-year-old son has had it since he was 2.5. Immediately took umbrage with the fact that people were trying to justify violence because it's of alopecia. Don't do that in the name of alopecia because what my son goes through on a daily basis in his life, he will never be allowed to slap somebody for free. And that is what happened. We saw a man slapping. Now you can have any opinion you want about it. He was protecting his wife.
We're all going to tell our opinions. We're definitely going to share some opinions about.
But this hit me on 3 levels. 1, I'm somebody's wife. I don't need you to slap anybody for me. Okay. 2, I'm a comedian. Don't come and slap me if you don't like my joke. The worst thing you could do is not laugh at it, because having to sit in a bomb, Jamie, what's worse than having to sit in a bomb on a stage? If I tell a joke that you don't like and you don't laugh, nothing is worse for me. Like now, anyway. Thank you, Maureen.
Yeah, Maureen says, hey, I loved your story on Instagram about all this. It was so informative. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was fantastic.
And then the third thing is then people saying it was justified because she has alopecia. Listen, Alopecia. So those of you who don't know, alopecia is a disease that affects, it's like 6 million people or something. There are 3 different main types. I'm not sure what Jada Pinkett has. She does not actually look like most her. I'm sure that I'm not saying she doesn't have alopecia, but the 3 types I'm aware of are it's all under the umbrella of alopecia areata. And when you just have patchy hair loss, it is actually truly, and you can follow me on Instagram and you can see what patchy hair loss looks like. It's what Neil has now. And then there's what's called totalis, which is whole scalp, which means there's no hair on the scalp, but they probably still have eyebrows, eyelashes. And then they have the most common one that you would recognize as alopecia, which is alopecia universalis, which is what Anthony Kerrigan has, which is what Charlie Vill, like the basketball player, has. It's Neil will probably transition into that at some point because his hair loss started so young. But you can be Jada Pinkett Smith didn't get the diagnosis till later in life, and hers, from what I've seen, is a strip of hair that she is missing on her head.
But I feel like they're coloring it in. It feels like
they must be, because Neil doesn't have follicle. Like you can't like
I feel like it was almost like when they give LeBron James a hairline.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, like I know some of the
had like a dark, like it looked like they were colored.
They did, like, yeah, because I was gonna say there is a treatment where you can have your head tattooed to have follicles, because one of the things that's marked about people with alopecia is that you don't see the follicles. So like usually like you can tell the difference between a guy with a shaved head and somebody with alopecia, because like where Neil does still have hair growing in, he'll still have follicles.
Okay.
Actually,
the guy on Barry has totalis, right? I believe, right? The guy on Barry, he's fantastic.
Yeah, no, he is universalis. Yeah, he's my friend, Anthony Kerrigan.
He's so wonderful. He's such a great actor.
He's the greatest, and he also actually, when Neil was when James was first born, and he became a friend of ours at the alopecia conference because Barry. I'm friends with somebody on the show. He put us in touch, and Anthony Kerrigan actually used to physically get the shit beat out of him in school.
What?
And
do I know Anthony?
He's the guy from Barry. He's the one you're talking about.
Oh, that's his name. Okay.
Yes, yeah, Anthony Kerrigan. And he said that he was like, you just, and this was like, we were like, well, he's gonna have a beautiful life. But he was like, you just use that as your jet fuel, and then you decide where your jet wants you to go.
Such a great approach.
It sounds like your son and Jada have the same diagnosis, because the patchy hair loss, it seems like that's the case.
So she probably is stuck in the areata phase of that, the patchy. Yes.
Right. So when did you notice with your son? I know she's been very forthcoming on her Instagram and talked about like how like every phase since 2019, I believe, or 2018 when she, came out publicly with the diagnosis. With your son, how did you notice at such a young age? Was he just losing clumps of hair?
There was a day that he was in the bath, and I was like, oh wow, he's going bald. Like it was and I immediately as a mom was like, I've been using a shampoo that's poisoning him. You just immediately try to figure out what you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I gotta, and I remember like asking, our friend who's an anesthesiologist, because I'm like, well, you're a doctor. I mean, you know how to give drugs. But
you have some credentials.
Yeah. And he was like, look, I would, nobody wanted to say it to me, but he was like, I would guess alopecia. And I was like, no, he still has eyebrows and eyelashes, because my only understanding of alopecia at the time was that you don't have eyelashes, you don't have eyebrows. And that's only one type of it, which is universalis. So we then got him diagnosed. And it was the month before, it was like October of 2017. I was giving birth to James a month later, and we got the diagnosis, and I said, and we allowed ourselves to have one hard day. I said, okay, today's the day. We have a cry. We had because we just assumed his life was going to be super hard because of it. Because at 2.5, he presented strangely. He looked ill at 2.5 because it was really thinning hair, but just sort of, it was almost like, what's happened? And then for a while he had what we called the friar tuck, which was just tons of hair on the side and nothing on the top. And then at some point, like I started, basically my approach was like, I'm going to so I just like reached out to everybody on like all of my friends on Instagram at the time. And I was like, who do you know? Who can you put me in touch with? And I can tell you this alopecia can be like the main side effect of alopecia seems to be that you become an awesome fucking human being. Like that's what the side effect seems to be when you get it young. And I will say that, like, I talked to a woman who, the first woman we talked to was this woman who was 6 years old when her father died, and she lost all of her hair. And a lot of times with the story of alopecia, like a lot of times there is a triggering event, like it's an autoimmune disease, and then your body basically has too big of an immune response and attacks your hair follicles. And she's never had it since. And she wears a wig every day, and that is where her comfort zone is. But she also came over to visit us, and she took her wig off so Neil could see it. And that's her comfort zone. That's what they've always done. They put a wig on, and she had kids try to snatch her wig off to prove that it was a wig, and just like people. And again, she's now in her 40s, so I'm sure it was way worse for her than it is for Neil. And then, like, I know somebody who got it at 14, which I feel like is actually the absolute, like, worst time to get it. So we actually, in hindsight, were like, wow, we are so lucky because he got it. He only knows this.
He's not going to know any different.
He won't know any different. And we've tried to frame it in a way that it's like, what are the jokes we can tell about this? What are the way, But like the first week of school, I dropped him off. I was like, how was your first day in person school? You're in first grade. How was it? And he's like, well, it was good. There was hot dogs for lunch, and some kids were mean to me about my alopecia, but my teacher's really nice. And I was like, okay. He just gave it in a list. Don't have a big reaction. And I was like, okay.
He needs to go as Lex Luthor with like a turtle.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Blue.
Dr. Evil.
Blue.
Dude, he needs to go as Caillou. What are we talking about?
And just being, anytime any kid picks on him, he goes, well, I guess you're not going to be in my lair. You're not getting admittance to my lair when my bomb goes off. So
the funny thing is that sort of abuse happened for like the first 2 weeks, and then everybody knows he's the kid with no hair. Like it just everybody gets used to it.
Say you were sitting somewhere and somebody goes, "Hey, Boldy, hey, Lex Luthor or something." Yeah. What is your reaction?
If they say that to him in front of me, or if I'm Neil.
You're just sitting somewhere quietly, minding your own business, not at a comedy show. You're just sitting there.
I will tell you.
Somebody decides to just start coming at you. What's your reaction?
The great thing is, for the most part, when adults want to talk to me about it, they believe it is cancer. And so people usually approach with a lot of kindness, and then I get to say, oh, we're actually so lucky. I say, it's just alopecia. Is what I get to say. Yeah. And that is true. Yeah, it is. Nothing has been true. So I took the boys a couple months ago to Great Wolf Lodge by myself. Dickie won't go, but I took the boys and a dad. So Neil and James were like having a fight in this line to get into the arcade. And a dad nearby said to me, he's like, the big fight. He's like, you fighting the big fight? And I was like, yeah, every day of my life. And he's like, us too, older one. And I was like, and I looked at his kid. And I realized I was like, oh, no. We're not fighting the big fight. No. I thought you meant them fight. No. I'm so sorry. He's like, oh, that's okay. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry for you. And I guess that in the cancer community, God, it's even impossible to think about, but in the community of parents who have kids with cancer, they refer to it as the big fight. And I am glad that I know that now. So if anybody else, but I thought he was talking about the fact that my kids were fighting.
I mean, how would you know that though? I mean, it was such a.
I mean, and I will tell you, I have gotten good at. So I have a great story from last week on spring break. I've gotten good being able to distinguish between alopecia and cancer, and so I have 3 times approached somebody and said, "I'm sorry if I'm wrong about this, but my son has alopecia, and I suspect that you do too." And actually, both times. They were like, oh, usually people think it's cancer. I'm so glad you knew. And so there's a healthiness about alopecia that a lot of times, like my father, who's going through chemo right now, he's like, Neil, I got your haircut. But he looks very not okay. Like Neil just looks like,
I would be such a smart ass. They'd be like, oh, was he okay? I go, oh yeah, he wouldn't eat his vegetables, so I shaved his head. I would fuck with people. I would.
Well, so the other day,
he was a pain in the ass yesterday, so I shaved his head and his eyebrows. Oh yeah, I shaved it.
Yeah,
I
no.
thought that was a lesson.
Or like he's just a skin. Listen, he's a junior skinhead of America. So
If somebody picked on your son and was being a real dick and cracked some joke about it, what would your response be?
She will cut a bitch.
Yeah, no, I feel like my job is to take, it's not mine. And that's been something I've really had to teach myself, is that like, when he tells me, and kids are mean to me, and it was hot dogs for lunch, and the kids are mean to me about my alopecia, and I don't get to be like, wait a minute, because he's showing me, it was just in his list. So I try to like ask questions that don't like, so for the most part, I just follow did it make you feel bad? I will say I happened to be there. Oh, this one kills me. For a while I was, before the pandemic, I was substitute teaching at his preschool. And we had friends at the preschool, and I said, we see him every day.
Hold on. You're a substitute teacher?
Yeah.
Can we all just take that in for 1 second?
Yeah.
All right. We're playing a video.
You would be surprised. I'm like,
Teacher Casey may be over here with some rose, but you watch the video.
Jamie, I'm going in there talking about, let's play Zip Zap Zop. All right, guys, we're going to play a game called...
What grade was it?
It was preschool.
So the kids at preschool went home and their parents were like, how was today? We watched Beaches with Bette Midler.
Yeah.
What? You did what? Yeah, it was Barbara Hershey. It was pretty good.
And at least 3 of them dropped a C-bomb.
Yeah. True. I know it does feel like my presence on these shows does not match up with a woman who has children, or a person, or B, a person that would be good with children. But I will say, so it was, we had friends at that preschool, and I was like, we are kind of immune to it. So like when it starts to look weird and it's a little too distracting, will you let us know? And then we'll shave it. So my friends were like, do you remember how you asked us like to let you know? We think it's time. And I was like, thank you. Because like, I'm so used to seeing him. So he had there was a massive patch.
Wait, Freddie B says she has them play Heads Up 7 all day and no one is it. Just full on naps. Everybody nap.
Oh, I love that. So we shaved his head. So I happened to be substitute teaching, bless you, Claire, in his classroom the day that they first saw him. And so the little preschoolers, did I go away?
No,
somebody's kids are screaming.
Craziness screaming in the background.
It's mine.
Oh.
It's mine. Hold on. Let me check my mic if I can do the different mic.
Yeah, use the different mic. That's fine. Hey, it doesn't matter. I want to talk about the Will Smith thing. Claire, what did you think about the whole Will Smith, Chris Rock thing? And
I want to say, Jamie, I'm the first person to get sick of this conversation.
Okay.
And because there is no good perspective. I guess the best perspective I read, and I can't put my really perspective on 2 Black men having this incident. It's not me. I'm white. I'm a woman. I'm not in that demographic. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't have alopecia. I don't have anyone in my family with it. So, my perspective is like, there's really no good outcome. It was a bad situation. Obviously, no matter how you look at it, it was bad, and I think that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar came out with like a really lengthy statement today on his social media that was pretty good. That was just saying like, this is not good. Here's why it's not good for our community, for our people. And I think that like that probably resonates the most with me. I was interested, Kate, from someone with, a child with the condition that Jada has, and in the same, level of development, what did you think, or what does the community think?
Well, I think the truth is that, and I just saw that Lori Oram says that she has alopecia universalis, and Lori, my son, has alopecia, and right now he's in the patchy phase, but he was diagnosed at 2.5, and will likely end up universalis as well. I will say that everybody with alopecia has a different experience with it, and it depends on how you were home you were in when you got the diagnosis. So how old you are when you get the diagnosis, the support system that you have around you. I think part of something that I don't agree with that a lot of the people with alopecia are saying that's not true. Right now, the National Alopecia Area Foundation is saying their hashtag, their sort of line that they tell is alopecia is not a joke. And I think part of that is because
Chris Rock says, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, for the record, that is also not what I believe. I believe that anything can be a joke, and if it's not funny, you don't get a laugh. And if it's offensive, you can tell somebody after. And so, but I think part of the reason why that's the line that NAF is towing right now is because a 12-year-old killed herself last week from the bullying she was receiving.
With alopecia.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
it's crazy to me. I mean, it's so crazy. I remember people picking on people in school, and you're like, what are you doing, man?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? You're picking on somebody weaker than you. It just blows my mind. So I don't know. I mean, in some way, Will Smith, if that's, people have said it, if it was Jason Momoa or somebody huge, is Will Smith walking up and smack? It's easy to walk up and smack somebody when you're like, I posted an interview. I interviewed Will Smith and Jada Pinkett on the red carpet at the SAG Awards many moons ago, and he couldn't have been nice or whatever. But he's a big dude. He's like 6'2", 220. Yeah. He's a big cat.
I mean, I guess to me, the part that was a little bit confusing and clearly I was not at the Academy Awards. I don't want to, but when they showed the, when Chris Rock made the joke, he was laughing and Jada was kind of which I totally understand, respect, fine. But where did that transition happen between him laughing and being like, ha, that was funny, to 10 seconds later, him walking up?
Well, I can tell you, as soon as he looked over and saw her face.
Everyone says that. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's my whole take. I have a take on it.
Someone should have
I'm a little bit of a devil's advocate because Chris, I love Chris Rock. Bigger and Blacker.
I love him.
One of my
the greatest
specials of all time. Where he's like, stop charging for guns, charge $5,000 a bullet, and you'll stop people killing each other.
It's
brilliant. Chris Rock's one of my favorite
I love him.
I will say the joke was a terrible joke.
It wasn't funny.
I'm not condoning Will Smith's behavior whatsoever. I would never. Obviously, he could have done it. He walked up. He could have walked up and turned around and gone, boo, right? Bad joke. Super
Okay,
funny.
but wait a minute. One thing, Jamie and Kate, you both said it's a terrible joke. I'm willing to be swayed because I don't have an opinion right now. But
I don't think it's a terrible joke. I just don't think it was that funny. It wasn't that clever.
That's what I mean. Terrible.
That's what I mean as well.
He's comparing her to Demi Moore, who was the hottest woman, peak of her career, shaved head. How's that a terrible joke?
Well, I will say, I think the joke.
She shaved it for the movie. She shaved it to play G.I. Jane.
I will say, I think this is the classic, this would be the classic, this person looks like joke. So, for example, I'll be like,
yes.
When we had the dads on, the dumb dads, and I was like, I loved you. Hey, I loved you in Arrested Development, and I loved you as Marv in Home Alone. It's a very classic that looks like. Or Jamie, I'd be like, dude, I really miss your show, Conan. You know what I mean? When you just say that somebody. So I think she was wearing army green and she's bald. And he was like, G.I. Jane too. Can't wait to see it. But it wasn't funny. So the worst thing that could have happened to Chris Rock was that nobody laughed.
But
I think it's all out of context. Go ahead.
Is it not funny because it's not funny, period? Or is it not funny because she has alopecia?
No, it wasn't funny in the first place.
It wasn't funny in the first place.
Dated joke. G.I. Jane's so old.
That's what it is. It's dated.
Reference. It's so lame. And Will Smith laughing was an uncomfortable laugh. Here's what I think. There's so much history. I wouldn't be surprised if she either slept with Chris Rock when he was on SNL and they dated early, or Chris Rock tried to go out with her early and she wouldn't go out with him. And then he's been picking at them.
It's not the first time.
He's been nudging them. And I'll also tell you that they spent 8 hours getting ready for the Academy Awards. He's up for Best Actor. It's a big fucking deal. And she's getting dressed, and she's like, my wife is going to dinner a block from here with 2 friends who are running Girl Scouts. She changed her outfit 3 fucking times. She was like, how do I look? I go, you look great. She goes, I don't like the belt. Wigged out, went upstairs, changed the belt, came back down, went. For 8 hours, poor Jada Pinkett Smith, unfortunately, is like, holy shit, I'm at the Oscars. 1 billion people are looking at me. He was like, it's going to be, you look great. You're beautiful. 8 hours of that, right? 8 hours. They're in a limo. She's like, I feel self-conscious. He's like, you look gorgeous. It's coming together. And all of a sudden, that fucking trigger goes off. And here's the other thing. Everything's like Chris Rock's a comic. Chris Rock is a comic. This isn't the Funny Bone in Columbus, Ohio. Will Smith did not pay admission to go into a comedy club, sit in the front row, and wait to get fucking heckled. He's up for Best Actor at the Academy Awards. And yes, you can pick on people. And yeah, I still don't condone what he did, but I totally understand it. I understand this stress. And he's waiting for the announcement. And his wife's been fucking wigged out for 8 hours. And their kids are losing their shit. And he looked over, she looked at him, and it went off. And you're like, and there's definitely history between them all. They've been around forever. They've been around for 30 years.
Well, I love that like Denzel and Tyler got involved like immediately after. You know what I mean? And they were like, okay, and Bradley Cooper, and they were all like, okay, with
none of these people live in the real world.
None of them. Not a single one.
So he's at the Academy Awards, but he's been going to award shows since 6 Degrees of Separation, since the fucking Prince of Bel-Air was up for the Nickelodeon. Like, to him, if you asked him how much is a washing machine, he might say $17 or he might say $32,000. We don't know. He has no concept of what's happening in the real world.
Let's hone in and finish this discussion of like, does it make a difference if he knew of her medical condition or he didn't with the joke?
It doesn't matter. I would be
surprised in his own planet. He is the day that dude's had publicist. He's done every interview for King Richard for 4 months. Like, it's come to this. Everyone's like, you're going to win the Academy Award. The big fucking deal, man. It's the biggest deal. And all of a sudden this shit happens and he lost it. I totally understand it. I don't condone it, but I totally understand it.
Okay, so then here's my question. And I really mean this to man, you, Jason and Jamie. This is to you guys. I'm really curious. Why a slap and not a punch?
So orchestrated, right? And the walk up, he walked up.
And Chris goes,
it was a determined walk.
A determined walk, as if it was a scene. These guys, they say Tom Cruise, like Tom, I've talked to other actors who've worked with Cruise, and they're like, he doesn't blink, because to these people, sometimes it's a scene. All he does is make movies. He walked on stage in such an odd way. Chris Rock leans forward, puts his hands behind his neck. He thinks Will Smith's going to lean in and go, dude, what the fuck are you doing, or something. And then he shocks him with that. And then he turns and he walks away and he pulls his shirt down. It was almost like it was it had this weird movie vibe to it of like, these guys are not living in the real world. And they think everything is on a movie. It's just a weird behavior, right?
Why not a punch? Why not a punch? I thought it would be a punch if it came to that. If it came to that moment of, they say like athletes and actors as well have a certain amount of testosterone that just, can bubble up. So
because the snap doesn't leave a mark. That's what, in Falcon and the Snowman, they beat him up with the phone books because it won't leave a mark, right? I think a slap is more. I wrote a script one time where the guy open hand slaps somebody and he goes, it's so much more disrespectful. It's so much more humiliating to get slapped in a way. Because also, I don't know, it was such a weird sucker punch. The whole thing was so crazy.
I think the question for me,
different planet.
The question for me is, why didn't he at that moment? And like, I understand here, everybody's like, he just lost it, but he lost it for a long time. He had a lot of runway to change his mind.
There and back, and then the two statements.
It's almost like I feel like if it's almost like I would have understood it more if he had been like presenting with Chris Rock and he had been like, but he had to like get up and move for a while. What I wish he would have done was, because he was going to yell from the audience anyway, was yell from the audience, "She has alopecia. That's not funny. Look it up," because he could have brought awareness.
He could have brought awareness, right?
People now saying violence, because I think the biggest issue. Let's say this happens. Let's say there's none of us have an opinion about whether anything happened was right or wrong. The thing that's the worst that we saw happen was that a famous rich person had no repercussions.
I agree.
It's not exactly sending a good message to Kanye right now.
Which, for the record, if you think that if Kanye took the stage and slapped Chris Rock, he wouldn't have been escorted out of there.
I think he would have been escorted out.
Kanye
100%
is such a stalker that he bought a house across from Kim, his ex, and is living there. So he is not being, the domestic violence issue there is not being addressed either. But that's a whole nother.
No, I'm just
What I'm saying, it sets a precedent now.
It sets a precedent now that the Oscars didn't get their. That's the biggest issue I have, because Lori in the chat.
Never have. There's been so many terrible Oscar moments.
Claire, time out. If you think that Bradley Cooper could have walked up onto that stage and slapped Chris Rock and not been escorted out.
Oh, it would have been a hate crime.
If you think Jesse Plemons couldn't have hit Amy Schumer for mocking his wife and embarrassing his wife.
Okay, when Roman Polanski was, nominated and not in the country, he got a standing ovation and everybody was so happy that he won the Oscar. When the Hattie, I can't remember her last name, from Gone with the Wind, was nominated for an Oscar in the same category as a white woman, she was made to sit in the back only because it was a white only theater, only come in with her agent and her press person and sit way in the back and leave through the back door. The Oscars.
That's why they're all so bummed, because it's really it's a bad mark on that culture, and I think so it's almost like, you're making us look bad. What the fuck are you doing?
I think it's a bad mark on Hollywood, and what I don't think
it's a bad mark on Hollywood.
Because to me,
I thought Jim Carrey said something about that too. It makes it just highlights the foolishness.
It's just also it's like absurd. Like,
don't you, like, as someone who's been in Hollywood and Clare, the reason a lot of people are super famous and watchable is because they're crazy. Like, I'm always amazed when somebody goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe that comic, killed himself or something." I go, I'm amazed when a comic doesn't.
Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Like, we're all crazy. That's why we are the performers on Earth.
We just got to see what Will Smith's brand of crazy is. Right?
Well,
that's just
it's funny too. The rumors. Everyone knows the rumors of Will and Jada. Everyone I talked to is shocked that Chris Rock, after he got hit, didn't go, "You know what? Here's a couple other nuggets you might."
No, for the record, I think that's Jamie. I actually think that's why he said, "What? That's the nice one about the Jada."
Yes, I think so.
Because I was like,
actually, what you guys may not have heard, which I can't confirm, but I have read on multiple sources, but I need to listen to the podcast, is recently Jada was on a podcast and admitted to Will that she's been having this extramarital relationship for years.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Who cares? They're in an open relationship. But if he is not cool with that, he's carrying that baggage. That's what I'm saying. I'm not judging.
I gotta call Lori on this, because she said Lori in the comments is thrilled that Will defended his wife. Color is not the damn issue. Is an ignorant person making fun of a person with an illness. Lori, let me ask you this though. As a mother of a kid, first of all, Lori, yes or no, you have heard way worse than being called G.I. Jane in your life. Yes or no? Secondly, what I will say is that, Lori, if you ever responded with violence to the way that you have been harassed in your life, would there be repercussions for you?
Okay, and also, Kate, is Chris Rock making a joke about G.I. Jane harassment? No, that's not a kid bully. That's not someone bullying someone with alopecia.
Well, I think listen.
Almost in the house.
For me, I think the thing that as a person in the alopecia community, even though it's not me, it's my son, knowing the way that he can be tortured by this, knowing the way that people can stare at him or talk to him and sort of that people the first week of school were like, are you bald because you had COVID? Are you bald because you have cancer? And trying to reveal that to me is the thing that I can't stand, is that people are like, well, of course he hit her. He has alopecia. I'm like, none of us can hit because we have alopecia. None of us can do that.
I will side with Lori, and my neighbors, we all had a text chain, and I was the only one who I was like, I'm Team Wilf here. And let me explain for a little bit, because yes, I don't condone what he did, but as a guy who, when I was younger, I had a razor sharp tongue. Many of my friends have commented to me, I cannot believe you haven't been punched in the face more often.
I actually almost saw you get punched in the face.
I have an odd gift for insulting someone right to their face, and they kind of laugh and go along with it. It was a weird, for years, I didn't do it deliberately. It was a self-defense mechanism because I was bullied as a redhead, but I was razor sharp and I could really hurt people's feelings. And so I totally understand that. And so part of me is like, the one good thing about this is that there are repercussions for what you say. I think this is not the right spot. Like, Chris Rock should not have been hit for this, and Will Smith for not. But when Alex Jones steps up to the Sandy Hook parents and says, those are crisis actors, your kid's not dead, your kid never existed, this is bullshit. He needs to be punched in the fucking mouth. And if it was my kid in Sandy Hook, I don't know what I would do. But those people have sued him. And the one thing I do agree with that is that there's ramifications for words. And when you say something, you better be ready. And he wasn't a comedy club. He wasn't on the stage at the Chuckle Hut. He was somewhere else. Obviously, Will Smith, that was a way overreaction. But there are ramifications for what you say, and people have to learn that to a degree. And
I think, Jamie, I can get behind all of that. My only issue is that there's also ramifications for putting your hands on somebody.
Absolutely.
And we saw none of that. And now people are using alopecia to justify violence when people with actual alopecia cannot exercise violence in that same way and have no repercussions. So to me, that's where it sticks in my craw. I'm like, this is not people with
Peggy
alopecia don't get to defend
themselves. Great line. Peggy Gubbins says, Chris Rock.
Oops, there.
What are you doing? We lost Claire.
Uh-oh.
What happened? It all fell apart.
Hold on.
I get it. Chris Rock had a line in his act regarding OJ. Now, I ain't saying he should have killed her, but I understand. I feel that way. I absolutely feel that way. I'm always that. People are like, I was so shocked. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked by anything. Nothing shocks me. I understand it. And when you look at like a timeline of Will Smith's day, he was probably on 2 hours of sleep. He's up for an Academy Award. He's sitting here dealing with this shit. Jada might have been yelling at him all day. Who knows where this cat is? He's got 2 kids. Yes, he's a superstar. He's lost in reality, but I totally understand it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And what I will say is that I hope everybody who's like, of course he hit her. Of course he hit him. He was making fun of his alopecia. I hope all of those people talk to their kids about what alopecia is, so that the kids at my school can stop picking on him. Because that's the thing. Here's basic bottom line. Someone makes fun of my son and he slaps him. He's expelled. That's what happens,
because there are repercussions for somebody.
Because there are repercussions. So for me, if this is what's going to happen, if this is how it's got to go down, and we can say right or wrong, whatever, then I just want to know that Chris had repercussions for his words, and Will Smith had repercussions for his hands.
If you're
That's
gonna,
all for me.
you're gonna walk the walk, you better stand up and take the penalty. And he should have. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
And I think for me, the thing that's been triggering for me is like, do not condone this violence in the name of alopecia, because you will find
such
But
a
okay, so do you guys know definitively? And Lori, I've read every comment you've said. I agree with you. You said he's disgusting and needs to recognize that.
Well, let me justify Lori as a comic, because here's the other thing. Chris Rock is presenting at the Academy Awards. He's been writing jokes. He has 5 people writing jokes. He might not even have written that joke. It might have been.
I think it was that she was wearing.
It wasn't in the actual script.
Guys, it's such a medium of like, how do we get through this show? Nervous. I've done it. Claire, you've done it. I get super nervous at that shit.
So Jamie, did he know she had alopecia?
Doesn't matter.
I don't know.
It doesn't. It doesn't,
I
because
would imagine if he did know, he would not have
someone in
said
the
that.
medical community.
it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter, and I'll tell you why. Because he's making fun of her looks.
That's what I.
No,
that's
it's not
my only concern.
He's comparing her to a beautiful woman who was in a leading
No,
role
but
in a movie.
that's not a joke. That's what he's saying, is that she resembles a woman in the army.
Yeah.
In this movie, it's, to me, the joke was about the way she looked.
Negative.
Claire, if it was a thalidomide baby who had lobster hands, and he was like, "Hey, what's up, Penguin? How you doing?
It's not.
You're the new Batman."
Demi Moore shaved her head voluntarily for the role.
You're giving this
does
way
not
more
know she had a
nuance.
medical condition. He could have thought, oh, she shaved her head voluntarily. Now I'm comparing her to a great woman who was an
I think
actress.
Lori's right. I think it was ad lib. I think he got caught up in the moment, and I think he just let it. I've done it. I've said the worst things on stage ever, where I was like,
listen,
oh
I disagree with you guys. I think you're not looking at the whole picture.
I think it does. I think the issue is, I think that you can. I think when you make fun of the way somebody looks, you have to just be prepared that there might be something deeper.
Oh my God! But you guys are all comedians. That's what you guys do all the time.
Yes, and I have to be like, if somebody is screaming out in my show, and I say, okay, can we get a pacifier in that person's mouth, and it turns out that person had, like, you know what I mean? It's.
So our
like,
viewer
John
Logan
commenting
says,
on what's difficult in life, what's difficult in reality. You can't have the profession of comedy without that. Like, life is suffering and pain, and comedy is smiling through that pain.
Yes. I don't think, for the record, I don't have alopecia, so I did not take offense to the joke the way that Lori, but by the way, there are plenty of people with alopecia that don't take Lori's side on this and say, like, I've heard way worse than that. That was nothing. And to be clear, for me, I feel like if you were to tell me, like, if you're going to make a joke about the way Jada Pinkett Smith looks, I probably, like, I don't know that G.I. Jane was the funniest option for that.
It was just stupid. Listen, he threw it away.
I actually laughed. I thought
it was a throwaway joke.
But anyway, whatever. I'm obviously, in the minority here, and that's okay. I want to.
Well, it's going to make film.
You're in the majority in real life. Like, all my friends have not agreed with me at all. I think there's ramifications for what you say. This isn't the greatest example of it, per se, and obviously I think Will Smith should be held accountable for hitting somebody. And I don't think this joke kind of registered worthy of a hit.
I don't even care if Will Smith is held accountable. I don't care. I'm not on either side. I think it was a funny joke. I think he took offense. I'm cool with both perspectives.
Lori, that's exactly right. If you're a comic, you have to be really, by the way, that is the dance that we do as comics. We go up to the line. Sometimes we cross it. And especially in this day and age.
Well, Kathy, what's her name? Kathy
Griffin.
She's been like blacklisted for her Trump thing.
Yes. She crossed the line. She held up a bloody face
mask. Let me back in. But it's not happening. What do you guys think about that?
I feel like it's Lori is exactly right. That is exactly, and that's why a lot of people are like, I don't know if the comedy's for me anymore, because that is, I used to do a joke about
my car
gay pride in West Hollywood. I lived in West Hollywood. I was like, well, I suck dick too. You don't see me on top of a fire truck in my tidy whities dancing to Lady Gaga's Poker Face. Where's my parade? You know, like, and it was.
I also feel like if you were given that opportunity, you would do it.
Yeah, you're right.
By the way, if you haven't seen that parade, it's the greatest parade that's ever happened.
It's the greatest parade in the world.
It's the greatest parade ever.
But I had to be ready. I had to be ready that a gay person might say to me, like, don't talk about us. That, you know, I had to be ready for that.
You know, I think this is something that kind of regurgitated all these feelings from the last 10 years of all these people who got on Twitter with hate speech and said, I mean, that's kind of what it brought up in me. Was I would see Milos, what was the guy, Yiannopoulos or whatever that dude was?
Milo Ventimiglia?
He had all the horrible racist hate speech, and he was.
Oh no, that's not him.
Listen,
No,
that's not him. That's
see
not
those videos every now and then where some guy on a subway, a white dude, like starts saying stuff to a black dude and gets knocked the fuck out, and every one of us is like, "Oh yeah, that dude had it." Yes. So what I'm saying is, listen, Chris Rock did not deserve it. The joke, I didn't love the joke. Will Smith was wrong. He should be penalized for what he did. But I am in agreement that words, there's repercussions. There's repercussions for what 100%. You say. So,
has anyone thought about the fact that maybe like the joke was that G.I. Jane was such a shitty movie?
And that could be
it was going to make a shitty movie?
That, I mean, I honestly think
I don't know.
Chris Rock
Morton's is pretty delicious in G.I. Jane. Come on, people.
I will tell you, I like when we had those dude dads on, and I like saw what they looked like, and I came on and was like, loved you in Home Alone. Like there was and loved you in Arrested Development because I thought the one looked like Michael Cera and the other looked like Daniel Stern. That could have been incredibly offensive to them, especially like. And so that's why I'm saying it doesn't matter if one of them has a disease that made them look it. It could have been, and I had to be ready for that. And they could have absolutely shut me down for that and be like, that's not fun. They were cool about it. They laughed about it. I have to believe that Chris Rock in his head, probably, even if he knew it was alopecia, whatever it was, I think he was making the similar joke and it didn't land. It wasn't funny to them.
He was just being funny. He was just doing his job in that moment.
That's not his job. His job was to introduce the best fucking documentary. His job was not to get out.
They wouldn't have gotten Chris Rock if they didn't want to joke.
Here's the problem. I think here's the real problem is that there are repercussions to your words. And I think that Chris Rock is now a little bit a hero. Yeah. And I think that if Will Smith had shut him down and educated us about alopecia at the same time, that would have been way more devastating for Chris Rock right now. Then I think as soon as words get words, hands get hands, right? So as soon as words got hands, suddenly now there is this discussion of, was that violence condoned? And I think that now muddies the fact that like Chris Rock made a joke that hurt someone's feelings and he should have to sit in that. You know?
Yeah.
It sucks when you know that you've hurt someo's feelings. Oh, it's the worst feeling in the world. When you know you've hurt someone's feelings.
I haven't done it in a long time, but when I was younger, I really hurt people's feelings. I know I did. I destroyed people.
The worst.
Mine almost weekly.
Yeah, I destroyed 2 hours ago. I just crushed him verbally
for sport. Yeah.
I think my cap on this would be. Whether or not the slap was right, any of it, for me, in the real world, people with alopecia, I'm glad that it's brought awareness. I'm glad that we can now talk about this. I'm glad that I can educate people. I'm glad because the way that it's not for everybody, but the way that my son, who has only ever known alopecia, is growing up, we're trying to make light of it. We're trying to give him the better comeback. We're trying to give him all sorts of options other than violence because he will lose when it comes if he uses violence because he'll be the one that's kicked out of school. And so we are prepared that nasty words
out of school for beating up somebody, please.
Are you out of your mind?
No, they absolutely will.
Jamie, I'm not in a private school. Public school, you're out.
It's like he was picking on me. It'd be fine.
No, you know what, Kate?
Jamie,
I totally appreciate what you're saying, and I agree with you. And I think we should probably do like a supplemental episode about, this issue. But I will say that my daughter, which I shared with you guys privately and I'll now share on the podcast, she had an incident at her dance studio, my 12-year-old, who's like basically like a nationally ranked like professional dancer at the age 12. She slapped someone, and there were several different stories. And as the mom, I'll never know the true story. I won't know, I know River's side, I know the other girl's side, I know the other girl's mom's side, I know the teacher's side, but I don't really know what happened. But there was a repercussion, a week suspension for her.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the truth is, I think it's much harder to prove that somebody bullies you and much easier to prove that someone hit you. And so I think that is why I just feel like I have to raise my kid. We're just ready that he's going to be that every day of his life is going to be harder because of the way he looks, and that we have to give him tools that are not violence, because violence will have repercussions regardless of what we saw happen at the Oscars.
Well, if you're going to give him tools, give the ball peen hammer. That's like the biker's choice of weapons.
What tools are you teaching Neil to how to deal with this, Kate? Like, what's your go-to with this?
Well, I'll tell you, something really beautiful happened. So we went to Six Flags last week, and so part of it is exposure. It's showing him it's going to the alopecia conferences so he can see the kids that look like him. It's getting him into Cap Kids so he can go. And it sounds like Lori actually had hair and then didn't. I think that's way harder. Way harder, depending on when she got it to. There are some adults that like Jada Pinkett Smith. But I will say that like
Jada Pinkett, she had hair and then it's gone.
And she didn't. And I think that's a way harder transition. But so we were at Six Flags, and I told you I've gotten good at like recognizing when somebody, and we were leaving, and there was a teenage boy walking with some other teenage boys, and I spotted him immediately. And I was like, he's got alopecia. He's got universalis. And I was like, hey, and then I ripped Neil's hat off so he could see Neil's patches. And he was like, and tried to sort of jump over the bushes to where we were. And he came around, and I was like, hey, and he's like, I'm like, alopecia? And he was like, alopecia. And so I shook his hand. His name was Jackson. And yeah, Lori says she was in her 50s. I can't even imagine. By the way, it could still happen to any of us, for the record. Any of us could have it,
I'm stressed, so definitely it could happen to me first.
It would happen to Claire, definitely. It would not happen to me.
Sorry.
I'm pulling out 3-inch hairs that are between my eyebrow and it's starting to connect. I have this weird patch of hair down my back, like
you're a visor type situation.
I can't really go more DeVito than I've already gone. I'm pretty much there, guys.
Hey, speaking of which,
wait, hold on. I gotta finish this story. So this kid comes over, and he's this great kid, and he's there with a bunch of friends, and he's full universalis. I'm like, universalis? He's like, yeah, 8.5 years. He's like, I'm glad you knew it's alopecia. People usually just think I'm a skinhead. And I was like, oh, I'm like, this is Neil. And I was explaining, and I was explaining to, I was like, Neil, and then as we walked away, I was like, Neil, wasn't that so cool to see somebody else who has what you have? And he was like, just playing with a toy I had bought. And he was like, he's going to transform now. And I was like, man, he missed the moment. It didn't help. And then starting later that day, he said, I said to him, I was like, oh, you want to wear your hat? And he's like, no. And he has not worn his hat since seeing that kid. And that to me is just seeing it normalized. And that's why I want him to go to the conference this summer, because I feel like I don't know what I can give him. I'm a person with a full head of hair that people don't
shave it. Shave your head, Molly.
For the record, I'm not kidding you. If at any point in time, because this is the thing, we're in the easy years. I know it gets harder. I know that when he has to go to middle school, the first day of middle school is going to be harder.
You want me to shave my head? I'm not shaving my head.
You know what?
No, but
I actually don't think it's going to get harder. I think if he conquers the self-esteem issue now, build his confidence, and he's like, yeah, man, whatever. This is me. This is who I am. Whatever. You know what I mean?
I think it's possible. I think the fact that I have access to give him exposure to all of these people. I think that these organizations
he just
exist.
has to know, man, this is me. And you know what? F you. I have one son who's very, very confident. And whatever life throws at him, he's like, yeah, you know what? Here's how I'm going to deal with it. So I feel like
you can't, unfortunately, you can't teach that. I don't think you can teach confidence. I think that is part of why me talking to that kid, even though Neil didn't want to talk about how it made him feel or like how cool that was, there was something about seeing that kid with his friends as a teenager. And I think it just gave Neil a little boost. And it rained in LA yesterday. And I offered him his hat. Because here's the thing, his teacher lets him wear his hat in school. And I said to her, I'm like, oh, if that's not the rules, I don't want you to do that for him. Because like, then the teacher next year won't do that for him. And she was like, I'd let anybody do that. And I said, okay, well, okay. And then I was like, and then I talked to my therapist about it. She was like, if he wants to wear a hat, Kate, you don't get to decide that he doesn't. And I was like, okay, good point. So I offer him his hat every day. And yesterday when it was raining, he didn't technically need it because of the sun. And he was like, no, I'm good. And I think the truth is in grade school, I think these, like him, 1st grade through 5th grade, it's going to be great. I think it's going to be easy. I think the problem is he goes to a new school in 6th grade. And I think there's going to be new kids that are going to, I think I do think that those transition years, I think 6th grade, then I think 9th grade when he gets to high school are going to be tricky.
Middle school kids.
That is why I'm very lucky, and Jamie and I are both lucky that our school goes K through 8. So there's one jump. Because technically education has proven that those middle school years, 6th through 8th, are the hardest for any kid emotionally, like socially, developmentally.
Yes. Yeah.
I think I have something, Mulligan. I think I have something that I can help them. So a lot of people teach, like, a lot of kids learn karate or jujitsu, right? And that's a self-defense mechanism. You guys probably don't know this, but I teach a self-offense class. It's called Slap Fu. And all it is what you do is you walk up to someone like, and you kind of laugh and you just pretend like nothing's about to happen. And then you fucking open hand slap that person right in the face. And then walk away, chuck your thing. And it's self-defense is so passe. That's like 2004.
Yeah, self-offense. Yeah.
Self-offense. So you walk up, you smile, you go, everything's great. Bang! Face slap, open hand. It's humiliating. The guy, you're gone before he even knows what's happening. Self-offense. You slap and walk. And I can the whole thing. It's like it's an 8-week course. It's expensive. It's $2,400 per student.
But I got to be honest, it was totally worth it to take it. I really learned a lot from it. Yeah,
you did. And tell them about all the people you slapped food.
I slapped my in-laws. I slapped some old lady on a bus. I slapped an old lady right out of her cart at Walmart. She
had it coming though. You told me that whole story, and that it's just a slap.
I'm gonna let him know. I'm gonna let him know he's got that in the belt. Also, I don't know if you guys saw Susan's comment here. How old is your son, Kate? My son was in 7th grade when alopecia areata started. I saw my kid change, and I know kids were horrible to him. He graduates this spring and got through it. I'm so happy to hear he got through it because I actually, as I said, we let ourselves have one hard day when we got the diagnosis when he was 2.5, and then ever since I've been so grateful it happened at 2.5 because I can't imagine being a parent to a teenager who, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this. We saw a girl walking in our neighborhood. She's now a senior in high school and is my children's babysitter, but full on alopecia universalis. And we stalked her. I was like, there's someone here with it. There's someone. And we talked to other neighbors. They're like, oh, that's Drew. She is the greatest. I said the best side. I'm telling you, the side effect of this disease is that you're a fucking boss. That is the side effect of this disease. She just got into every single college she applied to. You know why? Because she wrote about what it was like to grow up with alopecia.
Well, and you know what? That's why I'm saying, I really want you to, your son, he's so young, build his confidence. Yes. So he's like, it's not a thing, man. It's not a thing. Don't let him go and say, oh, they made fun of me for my alopecia. Let him go and say, oh, they mocked me for, my hair, but whatever, I got over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It needs to be
So we are slowly evolving, right?
Yeah.
The appendix is slowly being vestigial tails. We don't have tails anymore. We're slowly evolving. We had hair. Why? Because it was to keep us warm.
Because we didn't have clothes. Yeah.
We didn't have clothes, right? Could it be that your son is an X-Man?
I like this.
We don't need hair. And by the way, I mean, wouldn't it be great?
Well, I mean, we laser it off in all the other areas.
Haircuts over
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing, it writes itself. I mean,
it does. And I'll tell you what, we actually really hope he gets, I don't know if you guys know this, but like a couple years ago, the girl that won one of the junior Olympic events in swimming was the girl with alopecia universalis. And I was like, she cheated. She had no body hair.
Can I jump in for 1 second? Because Lori says universalis is really hard, ladies. No hair anywhere. Imagine trying to date. Every guy who reads that comment goes, that actually,
like, I'm good.
It's kind of hot.
Yeah, no, that sounds fantastic. I'm confused.
Yeah.
Sign us up.
To be fair, though, I like a landing strip. I like a little something.
Yeah. I need to know. Yeah, that's my preference.
So, hey, I'm of age. That's me. Yeah. That's how I roll. But other people, not so much. A lot of guys like it. You know. If you guys follow me, greener on the other side. Sometimes there's no grass. You just got to wear different cleats.
By the way, Lori, I don't know if you follow me on Instagram. I'm Katest Mom Ever, but I posted one of the girls I follow is this really young woman who has her own line of eyebrow tattoos that look incredible. They're just like temporary tattoos, and it's like she's like honestly like I'm like, this woman's actually too pretty. She should have had her hair taken away. How dare she be so beautiful? But yeah, that's you. If that's of any interest to you, and also Lori, this alopecia conference, I'm telling you, it's great if you are somebody who likes wigs. If you're somebody who it's in a whole umbrella. It meets you where you're at. So,
listen, you gotta find the person who likes what you and
yes,
Jamie, I got no landing strip. No, clean. Listen, it's like a nice AstroTurf field. It's all just ready to go. You just gotta go.
Not everybody's into the stuff that Freddie Friction here is.
Listen, you got to be groomed. Look at Claire. Claire's so embarrassed.
Claire's like, no, we don't. We don't talk about pubes. No.
Oh! I'll talk about it with Kate, you privately.
What's funny is I was such a late bloomer. I didn't shave until college. Like, I just remember being in high school and I was a redhead and I didn't have my, shall we say, mantle of pride quite yet. And back in those days, like nowadays, I think that they have separate showers. But back then there was just one big room with just like 4 nozzles. And dudes were like we just had a sports game. Let's all shower in the same space. Even then I was like, this is not cool, dude. This is not cool.
I was on the other side of that, and I developed way too early and could have been mistaken for a small Sasquatch.
Is that right? At what age?
So I guess so. It was like end of 4th grade, early 5th grade. 5th grade is when you started showering.
5th grade?
Yeah, it was like late 4th grade, 5th grade.
I went to college without shaving.
Oh my God, are you kidding? I had to start shaving in 6th grade.
And what's crazy is now. Like, I went to college.
Are you talking about your face?
Oh, actually, you know what?
Yeah.
Next week.
No, I went full 70s ball throw down there, Claire. There was
we call that the ball throw.
I can't deal with this conversation.
Really? This is the one that pushed you over the limit?
That circus afro, just a little Chris Doctor.
Yeah. Jason, I said my bit about the slap, and now I'm like totally embarrassed about.
We're all friends here, Claire.
About keeping everything nice and clean, Claire. Come on.
Somebody asked earlier if we thought he should give his Oscar back, and my answer is no. I saw a really cool response.
Okay.
Somebody said
Oscar back.
No, that's.
I'm going to show you all a photo. I probably should have uploaded it. This is. I'm in the Navy at this point.
Is it your privates? Is this the YMCA era?
Actually, it's a digital.
It's pretty close. So I'm in the Navy. I'm on the ship. I'm 20. I'm probably 24.
You know, I'm not going to have a great reaction to this because I'm going to try and bone 24-year-old you. Like, I'm going to try. Like, I'm a 40-year-old woman who's not going to hit.
I'm 24 years old.
I love you. Back to the Future.
I'm early. And I didn't shave my chest. I had no hair on my. That's me with a red. By the way, my hair was super red, and I had a buzz cut. And I think I'm in the Indian Ocean. And now I have. It's like all of a sudden I'll look up and there's a 4-inch hair out of my. And I'm like, where did that just pop up this morning? How have I not? I'm pulling hairs that are like 3 inches out of my ears. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know when that started for me either, but there are days that I wake up and my eyebrows, I'm like, why is there a woolly bear on my head? Like, there's a
Dude,
it's nose hairs for me.
there's one that keeps coming in right here, halfway between my eyebrow and my hairline, and all of a sudden, I'm not kidding when I'm saying it's like 2 inches long, and I'm like, where did that boink? Where did that thing come from? It's crazy.
It's funny.
I'm so uncomfortable right now.
No, not at all. I was gonna say, oh well, Claire. I actually the other day got a facial, and my woman was like, "Do you want me to get rid of your facial hair?" And I was like, "I guess so." Oh, my hairless boys.
I'm like 20. I might be 24 years old there. That's insanity.
Oh, I love this. Freddie says.
From my belly button down. That was it. And just a little
tumble in the hay.
Freddie B, I told my wife we lost it. I told my wife someone should make travel wax swabs for men to wax their ears on the go. Actually, dude, you would make a ton of money selling those things.
I think there's very few things about alopecia that are good for the people that have it. But I will say, Laura, you've saved a lot of money. You saved a lot of money.
Hey, read that one.
Yeah. Oh, Lori says, I have alopecia, but I have nose hairs. Bastards. Actually, a lot of times I'm actually curious, Lori, a lot of my friends that have universalis in the community, it's nowhere except for there's one patch somewhere. And for my friend Susan, there's a patch in her armpit. That's the only place. So do you have a patch anywhere? Let us know. Oh, by the way,
the only place you do need them is in your nostrils.
No, you also, the eyelashes, losing your eyelashes is crucial. It's awful. A lot of times people with alopecia will just wear glasses because otherwise the amount of things that don't get in your eyes because of our eyelashes, we just take it for granted. But that's a really
Mulligan, I was going to say it earlier, but your eyelashes are on point today.
She put some falsies on just on the edges because I don't have alopecia, but I might as well because my eyelashes are like
you're all fancy today.
Yeah, listen, guys. I had to shoot.
We had so many other things we were going to talk about.
We have to hear Jason's story, though. I'm so sorry. This story.
So Jason had a date night that was abruptly ended, I believe.
Yeah. So, for the first time since the pandemic, we were going to be without children for an entire 2 days. My in-laws offered to take the eldest because no grandparent will ever offer to take all three. And so when my parents found out that Jace was going, they asked if they could have the twins. And I said, "Are you sure?" They said, "Yeah, this sounds great." I'm like, okay. So my wife and I went out to dinner. We went to the Brie Marie, where the world's favorite bartender Trevor got my wife and I pretty trevored.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So I was down and old fashioned. My wife was drinking fruity everything. She had a meal.
Yes.
She got a little sunburned. Yeah.
Oh my God, she's so cute.
Isn't she the
cutest?
cutest?
You've never seen her before, Claire, I guess.
No, I have. She's so cute.
Oh, thank you. So we had a great night and we got home and it was like 2:33-ish. And at 4:30, my phone began to be blasted with texts and phone calls and voicemails from my father insisting that I come immediately at that hour to get my goddamn kids.
4:30.
4:30.
Come get these goddamn boys.
Come get these goddamn kids.
Why'd you answer the phone?
Well,
right?
Because I would think no.
I've got a medical emergency.
A medical emergency. 100%.
But when you see the text message, you go radio silence. You go,
Oh, I see. If you would read the text.
Look at it, you go, yeah, Jack. No, you got him.
Well, in my defense, I did read the text messages after I was already on the way because I got the voicemail saying I need you to get down here right away. So I went. I got there. It was complete pandemonium. Their house was trashed. The Dark Lord is in a bed, just screeching like a wild monkey. He sees me. He jumps to me. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take them home. He's like, my dad's like, this is fucking ridiculous. And I was like, I'm gonna take him home. Obviously.
Were you like, can you keep the other one and I'll take this one?
But see, if I've already taken the Dark Lord Clare, then my day is already shot.
Yeah.
We get in the car.
The Dark Lord.
We get in the car, and as we're driving out the driveway, he looks me dead in the eye and begins clapping and going, "Yay!" And I'm like, "You son of a bitch! You did this on purpose."
I have a question about this to all of you. So years from now, when our children grow up and have kids, and they drop their kids off, and we watch them, would you ever do that? I would never. I would never. I would never do that and be like, you need to get over here.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because
I just wouldn't do it. I just feel like it's like the whole thing blows my mind of like, really? You can't make it till like 8 a.m, 4:30 in the morning, Jackhole. Really?
Yeah. No, I don't think I would do that. I think probably if I felt like there was a serious like mental issue, I would. Okay, if we all slap Jamie's or Lori says, Jamie, I love you all back. Now let's all slap Chris Rock. I would
never slap him. I love Chris Rock.
If we slap him, we have to be ready for repercussions for slapping. That's all I'm gonna say. But no, I don't know. I mean, when we have grandchildren, would we ever return them at 4:30 in the morning? No, but also, I mean, that just speaks volumes of the person.
Careful.
There's volumes.
I didn't. I stopped myself. I stopped.
Thank you.
Actions speak louder than words. I would call them. It's Next time they call to see the kids and they say, I want to come over and see the kids, I go, no. No. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't think there's a high risk.
I don't know.
I don't feel like they're gonna rush over here, Jamie. I don't think that's gonna happen. My kids have a shelf life with other people.
We covered the sweet Jesus out of that. I had so many. My daughter had surgery last week. We still haven't covered that. I don't think we have time to get to it today. I don't think. Claire,
can you tell us what kind of surgery it was?
Oh, just do it, Jamie. You're here.
Yeah, tell us real quick. But I have to go get River. So yeah, I'm with you.
I agree. I think we move this on. It's not that big of a deal. We'll move it on. Because here's the deal. My wife's out tonight. She has she made it sound like it was a work dinner. Like, I have a dinner tonight. And then as she was leaving, I go, well, was it for work? What's happening? And it turns out it was with the other moms of the Girl Scout troop. I was like, hey, back off, Jack. What's happening here? So she's out with the Girl Scout moms. And I was like, go ahead, go have fun. But my two daughters are probably.
She has to learn how to phrase it. So you'll be like, okay, that's cool. Yeah, you're good. Versus like, wait, what?
Jason, let me ask you, because I love when my wife goes out. I beg her to go out with her friends. I'm always like, please,
I love that.
With her. So when she does go out, she's kind of like, she always feels guilty. And I'm like, you shouldn't feel guilty. You don't. No. My wife does not do enough for herself, for her own mental health, because she works super hard. She has a really high pressure job. She works super hard. And then when she's not working, she invariably feels guilty because she's not spending time with the kids. And I'm like, listen, you need to take care of yourself. So anytime she's ever like, I'm going out, I go, please, for the love of God, yes.
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
Does she let you do the same?
No.
So honestly, I'm not kidding you, Jamie. I do think that would, like, she doesn't have to have guilt if it's a give and take. There's no guilt there.
But it doesn't bother me because I have my own. I'm also,
I know, but I'm saying if we're trying to get rid of her guilt, it's not just that.
Right. I don't have.
She should be like, oh, this is the thing we do for each other. I don't have to feel bad about going out because I'm going to let him go out.
I do think it's a mom thing versus dad thing. Claire, you got to go.
Well, I agree with you, Jamie, 100%. The expectations are like this with mom versus dad. Like, I say, oh, I need to do this. And it's like, oh, blow up. You know what I mean?
Anytime you do anything for yourself, there's a weird guilt feeling in the back of like, I should be doing something with my kids. Which is
have that dynamic.
No, not necessarily. For me, I feel like I do so much with my kids. I'm good. You know, if I do that one thing once a month, you know, twice a month, I'm good. You know, they're well kept and taken care of. So they're good. But yes, I do have to go get River. So
I think we should wrap this whole thing.
We'll wrap.
That was such a fun show, guys. And honestly, to all the fans who watched and commented along, oh my gosh, it was amazing. Jobo,
thank you,
and Maureen, and everybody who chimed in. It was super fun tonight, and it's so funny because we're having such a group of fans who are being part of the whole Parental Mental Health Tuesdays that I don't know. It's really fun. It's really fun for me.
I love it.
I feel great after this thing. And I hope everyone else enjoys it. So we had so many things we wanted to talk about. Lori, you all are so great.
You're awesome.
Thank you. And honestly, it was so interesting that everyone chimed in about alopecia.
Yes, Susan, the mom of the boy with alopecia.
Thank you, Lori, for that.
It's up on iTunes. We have to identify it as like an alopecia podcast.
Alopecia special, yeah.
It was super, super interesting about the whole situation, Mulligan. We've talked about this many times, but I honestly thought it was so deep tonight. And I think eventually we all shave our heads, right?
I think honestly, it's listen, when it gets hard in junior high, I'm telling him I would do anything for him. But also we didn't even get to talk about the treatments, and that's a whole other thing. So maybe time down the line. Yeah.
I love you guys. It was super fun tonight. Let's go take care of our kids. To everybody out there, please, for the love of God, if you're on iTunes, subscribe, share with your friends. If you're on Facebook, definitely share with your friends. Follow. You know what to do. Stop. Just stop watching and actually go, hey, how do we help this podcast kind of grow? All right, that's all I got. Anybody else?
No, that's it.
No, we got. All right, I love you.
Good night,
everybody.
See you next week on the Parents Lounge.